A new shipment of German Leopard 2 tanks has arrived in Ukraine. At the same time, the U.S. announced that they will send modern American M1 Abrams tanks. Moscow considers such deliveries a dangerous provocation. In addition to the tanks, 40 Marder infantry fighting vehicles were delivered to the conflict zone in Ukraine, along with 2 armored repair and evacuation vehicles. The German army has been training Ukrainian tank crews and soldiers who will operate the Marder IFVs for several months. In late January, Western countries announced tank deliveries to Ukraine. Germany promised to transfer 18 Leopard 2 tanks and up to 178 Leopard 1 tanks to Kyiv. The Leopard 2 is considered one of the most modern main battle tanks on the global arms market. It surpasses Russian tanks mainly due to its more powerful firepower, which usually allows it to destroy enemy targets with the first shot. However, a challenge could be the complexity of the system, which requires very intensive technical maintenance. Some countries have found that the tanks in their arsenal are effectively not working or do not have spare parts. Therefore, Germany wants to open a technical service and repair center in a country neighboring Ukraine. Some armies have even had to call retired instructors to teach Ukrainian soldiers how to use older model tanks. The last tanks in the shipment to Kyiv left Germany at the end of last month and have now crossed the Ukrainian border. The German government does not disclose the exact route of the arms deliveries for security reasons. According to German laws, any country wishing to send German-made tanks to another country must obtain permission from Berlin. German defense company Rheinmetall has announced that it is in negotiations to build a tank factory in Ukraine capable of producing up to 400 Panther tanks annually. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government initially stated that it intended to assemble, together with its allies, 2 tank battalions for Kyiv, a total of 600 tanks. However, they have not yet managed to gather such a quantity. The United Kingdom is considering the possibility of sending Challenger 2 battle tanks to Ukraine. If an agreement is reached to supply Ukraine with British Army Challenger 2 tanks, it will be the first time a Western country has provided Ukraine with modern heavy battle tanks. The Challenger 2 tank is somewhat different from the Abrams or Leopard 2 and is to a certain extent a unique machine, the transfer of which does not pose a critical threat to the UK's defense capabilities. The main armament of the Challenger 2 tank is its 120mm L30A1 gun, which is 55 calibers long. The gun is rifled and uses non-NATO standard separate loading ammunition. The Challenger 2 requires its own ammunition, including both armor-piercing and high-explosive fragmentation rounds, as well as unique HESH, high-explosive squash head, armor-piercing high-explosive shells. The latter allows for the effective destruction of enemy fortifications and lightly armored vehicles at ranges of up to 8 kilometers, which is about 3 to 5 kilometers greater than the capabilities of sub-caliber ammunition, as well as disabling enemy tanks due to significant damage without penetrating their armor. The unique feature of the HESH shell is that it smears the explosive material across the armor or fortification surface, which then detonates and causes destruction, creating spalling on the reverse side. That is, fragments of the armor itself strike the interior of the tank or shelter. The Challenger 2 is a classic Western-style tank with a 4-person crew without an automatic loader, designed at the turn of the 80s and 90s and in service with the United Kingdom since 1998. It replaced the Challenger 1 and was essentially built on its chassis, but only 3% of the components are unified. A notable feature of the tank is its undisclosed level of protection, and all that is known is the use of second-generation Chalbom armor, also known as Dorchester. This consists of special packages of ceramic and metallic elements made of tungsten or depleted uranium. In addition, additional armor modules have been developed for the Challenger 2, which increase its weight from 64 tons to 75 tons. This reinforced version reduces its relatively low power-to-weight ratio from 18.7 HP/ton to 16 HP/ton, which is related to the use of a 1,200 GP, 26.1-liter Perkins CV 12.6 AV12 turbo diesel engine combined with a Santa Salo TN54E automatic transmission with 6 forward gears and 2 reverse gears. France is transferring lightweight AMX10 RC tanks and Bastion armored personnel carriers to Ukraine. What is known about these weapons? The AMX10 RC armored vehicle is often classified as a light-wheeled tank. It can fight against armored vehicles. The AMX10 RC is equipped with a 105mm gun and a machine gun. This armored vehicle is manufactured by Satry Military Vehicles, a joint venture between GAT, now Nexter Systems, and Renault. Experts note that the tank uses special ammunition, as its 105 F2 gun is not standardized with other 105 NATO country projectiles. Its armor also protects against small arms fire, but not against large caliber rounds. The vehicle is equipped with a powerful 105mm GAT gun mounted in a welded aluminum turret. The TK-105 turret houses 3 crew members, while the driver sits in the front part of the hull. A Kotak fire control system is provided for aiming the gun. All 6 wheels of the vehicle are steerable. The 105/47 F2 mecha gun fires 105 X527R ammunition. The turret uses an electro-hydraulic SAM-CH 49-gun control system without stabilization. Additionally, a 7.62 mm ANF1 machine gun is mounted, and 2 electrically driven smoke grenade launchers are installed on the sides of the turret. In total, the vehicle can carry 38 rounds, 4,000 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition, and 16 smoke grenades. Nevertheless, Ukraine currently does not have many options to reinforce its armored forces. In case France offers an adequate number of AMX10 RCs, of which there were 245 units in service as of 2021, this opportunity should not be overlooked. French Bastion. This multi-purpose French armored personnel carrier, produced by ACMAT, is classified as an armored all-wheel drive military vehicle, an off-roader. France has supplied it to Africa, the Middle East, and North America. The APC is built on the VLR armored vehicle chassis. It was first presented in the United Kingdom at the DSEI Arms exhibition in 2010. The Bastion was primarily developed for French special forces operating in Africa and is therefore adapted to corresponding climatic conditions. In 2015, the U.S. Department of Defense purchased 62 Bastion APCs to be supplied to various missions operating in African countries. There are several modifications of the Bastion. The base version is designed to transport 5 Special Forces soldiers and allows for the installation of a remote turret with a 12.7 mm machine gun or combat module on the roof. Additionally, 3 40-inch grenade launchers, 2 at the rear, 1 in the front, or 3 7.62 mm machine guns can be installed. The extended model, Bastion APC Extreme Mobility, can accommodate up to 8 soldiers. The crew consists of 2 people. This APC is armed with a machine gun and smoke grenade launchers. It weighs around 12 tons, carries 10 soldiers, and can reach speeds of up to 110 kilometers per h, 68 miles per hour. Assistance from Norway 8. Leopard. 2 tanks and 4 support vehicles have arrived in Ukraine from Norway. Crews for these tanks are already being trained in Poland. Additionally, Norway has allocated funds for the purchase of ammunition and spare parts for these tanks. In total, Norway has allocated $300 million for military support to Ukraine in 2022. In particular, the country has decided to transfer 6 launch pads and 2 NASAMS fire control centers to Ukraine. Moreover, Norway has provided Ukraine with 10,000 artillery shells and announced that it is allocating around $15 million for the European Union mission to train Ukrainian servicemen. The Norwegian parliament has also supported a 5-year aid program for Ukraine worth 75 billion Norwegian kroner, nearly 7 billion euros. Furthermore, Norway has provided Ukraine with $43 million through the World Bank to pay salaries for medical personnel, teachers, and public sector workers, as well as pensions and social assistance. The Czech Republic is transferring older, non-upgraded T-72 tanks to Ukraine, which were used as the Czech active reserve. The T-72 is the main battle tank Ural, developed in the USSR and adopted by the Soviet Army in 1973. There were about 90 units in the Czech Republic, with only about 30 upgraded machines actively in use. The Czech Republic agreed on the transfer of this equipment with its NATO allies. Hidden under black tarpaulin were 28 M55S tanks, which had been part of the Slovenian Army's reserve and will now strengthen Ukraine's defense in the war. In exchange for donations, Slovenia will receive 40 transport vehicles from Germany. Poland has transferred more than 200 tanks to Ukraine. The T-72 M1R tank is a modified model of the Soviet T-72 Ural tank. Unlike its Soviet predecessor, the T-72M1R has received a new thermal imaging sight, night vision devices, a digital communication system, and a new engine start system. With these features, the tank is almost on par with the Ukrainian T-72 AMT. The T-72M1 received from Poland is an older version of the same tank, but with a TPDK-1 laser rangefinder sight and a reinforced upper frontal part. It also differs from the T-72 by having an additional 16mm armor plate on the upper frontal part of the hull and a composite turret armor with sand rods as filler. The PT-91 Twardy, constructed based on the Soviet T-72M1, has been in production since 1993. The base model PT-91 was serially produced at the Bumar Lebedi enterprise. The tank's protection was enhanced with the domestically developed Iarawa active armor, with 394 blocks covering the front part of the hull and turret. Additionally, the vehicle was equipped with an 850 GP PZL Wola S12U diesel engine, a SCO-1M Drawa fire control system, a Polish-made thermal imager, and Arawa explosive reactive armor. The Twardy also has a radiation-absorbing coating, the Obra 4 system that warns of laser irradiation on the tank. The deficit of more than 200 T-72 tanks and a certain number of PT-91 tanks will be fully, even excessively covered, as these are higher, better quality tanks. The Spanish government's plans to supply the Ukrainian military with 40 old Leopard 2 main battle tanks of German production. However, they were worn out in 1990 and require restoration. Therefore, they will not be ready for delivery until several months later. But due to an unofficial agreement, the Spaniards have held back these deliveries for now. The federal government warned the Spaniards in a phone call that this move would be a departure from the, albeit entirely unofficial, decision of all Western allies not to supply Kiev with tanks.